Oh, hello friends. I didn't see you there. I'm so glad you've joined me in the library to read again today. Seeing as it's still March, Women's History Month, I thought we could read another story today featuring the story of a character that identifies as a girl. That story is called Sofia Valdez, Future Prez. So I have to find it on my shelf, starting with the S sound. That shelf is located right here. So here's the book, and I'm going to get settled to read with you today. As always, before we begin reading, we're going to start with three things. We're going to ask a question that will help us better relate to the story. We're going to talk about a word that's in the story, and then we're going to discuss the genre. Then we'll move to the front cover and start reading. So here's the good reader question that will help us better understand the story today. It is, have you ever wanted something and worked really hard to get it? Have you ever wanted something and worked really hard to get it? Well, for me, something you might know about me is that I like to do yoga when I'm not at school to keep my body healthy. And one thing in yoga I really wanted to do was be able to do something called crow pose. And it's really hard because you have to balance on your hands. I had to work really hard to get my body strong enough to be able to do it. And I still can't do it for very long. So if you're able, pause this video now and talk with someone near you about if you ever wanted something really bad and worked hard to get it. Great. Thinking about a time in your life that you've done that will help you better understand our main character, Sofia Valdez, and what she does in this story. The second thing that will help you better understand it is this word, I say, you say. It's actually two words today. I say, you say. City Hall. Great. Let's clap it out. Ready, set, clap. City Hall. Let's tap it on our nose. Ready, set, tap. City Hall. Let's pull our ears. Ready, set, pull. City Hall. Let's always count. Ready, set, count. City Hall. How many parts to City Hall? That's right, 3 parts. Now, City Hall is a place where people work who can solve problems in cities where people live. Seattle has a City Hall. Now, the genre of this book. The genre of Sofia Valdez, Future Prez, is fiction, which means that the author imagined this story and wrote it to tell us a story. Okay? So this story, Sofia Valdez, Future Prez, as we read today, I want you to be thinking about character traits. Now, character traits means things that you can notice about Sofia's heart, body, and brain, like we talk about in class. So noticing on the front cover, I can already notice some things about Sofia's heart, body, and brain, some of her character traits. I can notice her age identity. I know that she looks like she's a kid. She's about 8 years old, I know, because the author says she's in 2nd grade when we start to read the book. I know that her gender identity is a girl. I know that her race identity is Latina. I know that her language identity is multilingual, that she speaks more than one language. Sofia speaks Spanish and English. I also notice there's another character on the front cover that tells us a little bit about her family identity. This character is her abuelo, which is the word she uses to describe her grandpa. So let's begin. Sofia Valdez, Future Prez by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. Now remember, as we read today, we're looking for things that we notice about Sofia's heart, body, and brain. Sofia was someone who got things done, helping her family before she even turned 1. She and Abuelo went out every week to help their elderly friends who lived around Blue River Creek, the ones who couldn't get out and about on their own, and with no place to gather, were stuck home alone. The author's describing the ability identity of these characters. Their bodies can't go out to run errands, so Sofia and her abuelo are running errands for them. That tells us important things about the choices that they make. Raking the leaves, taking pets for a walk, or just dropping by for a treat and a talk, Sofia Valdez did as much as she could for her family and friends and her whole neighborhood. She was a dreamer, a doer, a real-life go-getter. Most people like good, but Sofia liked better. The author just told us a bit about Sofia's heart and brain. We know now that she really likes to do things to make other people in her community's lives better. Now, each morning, Abuelo walked Sofia to class. They walked home again along Blue River Pass, making plans, munching on cookies, Abuelo and that girl, except for this one Tuesday when Pup saw a squirrel. With a howl, Pup took off, racing through the town, over and under, beneath and around. Sofia scrambled to try to keep up with the hollering man and the bellowing Pup. Up the squirrel ran to the top of a hill that was made of leftover trash for the local landfill. They reached the tip-top of that mountain of trash, which jiggled and broke with an ear-splitting crash. This illustration makes me nervous. This doesn't seem like a very safe place for people to be running and chasing. Down they all tumbled, and they hit with a thud on a moldy old pumpkin surrounded by mud. "Ouch!" cried Abuelo. He struggled to stand. That's the illustrator and author telling us that his foot is hurt. "A dangerous mess," he said, grasping onto Sofia's hand. Now, the next day, Sofia walked to school solo, that means alone, and it wasn't the same without her abuelo. "This is not right," declared young Sofia, and she glared at Mount Trashmore and got an idea. Now we know something important again about Sofia's heart and brain. When she sees a problem, like this big mountain of trash, she wants to do something to solve it. The very next morning, at dawn, she planted a sign at the front of her lawn. She stood back and smiled, and Pup gave a bark. Let's take a look at what this sign says. It says, "Get rid of Mount Trashmore. Let's build a new park." Sofia has an idea about how to solve the problem. Now, each of her neighbors had something to say about benches and fountains and places to play. Meeting spots, gardens, a basket for bees, a rubber duck pond, and a kiosk for cheese. She drew every thought on her map of the park, which was perfectly perfect by a quarter till dark. I noticed that Sofia got ideas from other people in her community about how to make this park just right for what they want. Then Sofia drifted to sleep in her soft, cozy bed, but then, bam! She woke up with a thought in her head. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized each one of her neighbors had said, "Let me know when it's done." They all thought Sofia could build it alone, but how could one girl do so much on her own? The weight of that thought made her tender heart ache as night thunder growled and she lay wide awake. Then dawn brought a storm, and the gloomy sky wept, and the heartsick Sofia finally slept. The author's given us some more important information about Sofia here. The author described her as heartsick. I wonder if she's worried that she won't be able to solve this problem all by herself. And for the people in her community, I wonder if she feels like she's going to need some help. Abuelo baked cookies when Sofia got up. He gave her a bag full, and she sneaked one to Pup. He blinked back a tear as he hugged his Sofia. "For courage," he whispered. "Te amo, mi vida." Those are Spanish words that just is him telling her he cares about her. Sofia's knees wobbled. She felt weak inside. She looked at his ankle, and she quite nearly cried. Though she didn't feel brave or courageous at all, Sofia Valdez went to face City Hall. And a good reader will remember that City Hall is a place where people work who can solve problems for a city. The author didn't put any words on this page, but the illustrator shows us there's City Hall, and there's Sofia getting ready to go inside. The mayor's office sent her to room 401, the Blue River Creek Department of Fun. But then they sent her downstairs to room 302, the office of duck ponds and cool things to do. And they sent her to the office of monkeys, the department of cheese, the division of fountains, the meetings of bees. Then down to the basement, so musty and cramped, where all the town's papers were sorted and stamped. I hear that no one in the city hall seems to want to help Sofia solve the problem. Now she's ended up in the last place, the basement. And that's where the clerk, who worked there, said what no one else did. She said, "You can't build a new park. You're just a kid." The words smacked Sofia deep down in her heart. Her plan was kibosh before it could start. That means that she doesn't even think she can get started. "But I think," said Sofia, "I think that law's wrong." But her second grade voice didn't come out very strong. The clerk said, "Clearly it cannot be done. Do you have any questions?" Sofia said, "One. If you were me and I was you, and he was your grandpa who'd gotten hurt, what would you do?" Well, said the clerk. Then she said nothing at all. She thought, and then she sent out a call to every employee throughout City Hall. I know now another thing about Sofia's heart and brain. that she's going to persevere. Even though at first the clerk had told her no and the work's getting harder, she's not giving up. She kept saying about the problem and her plan for how to solve it. The entire government of Blue River Creek crammed in the office to hear Sofia speak. But her words jumbled up and her cheeks turned bright red, that means she's nervous, as a dozen emotions rushed into her head. Her heart beat so loudly she thought it would crack. The crowd leaned in closer. Sofia leaned back. Then her arm brushed the edge of the old cookie sack. And that was the moment when Sofia first knew being brave means doing things you must do, even though your heart cracks with fear, even though you're just in grade 2. So she took a deep breath, and she looked the mayor right in the eye. And though her knees wobbled, she held her head high. Sofia started talking. She told them her plan, and why it mattered, and how it had began. And when she got rolling, she had lots to say about meeting spots and monkeys and places to play, and other ideas for things they could do to help the town elders and other folks too. She had thoughts about a library and thoughts about a zoo, and perhaps even a way to combine the two. "All right," cried the mayor. "Go start a petition. If the town wants to build a new park, we'll form a commission." That means they'll get started on Sofia's plan. And so young Sofia got right to work with some help from her family and from Pup and from the clerk. Then other people joined in to help, not all, but a few, even Miss Lila Greer and the other kids in grade 2. I noticed that a lot of people have been inspired by Sofia's idea to turn the mountain of trash into a park, including some characters we've met before. I noticed 2 characters we know, in fact. Here's Rosie Revere, engineer, and here's Ada Twist, scientist. They showed up to help Sofia. There were hearings and surveys and taxes to figure, then bulldozers, cranes, and a blue bigger digger. They all built that park. That's how it got done, with the hard work of, by, and for everyone. But it began with the dream of one person, just one, who'd laced up her shoes and led the way to help Blue River Creek get a new park to play. Now every evening till long after dark, the town comes together at Citizens Park. They all hold this truth to be self-evident, that Sofia Valdez could grow up to be president. Until then, Sofia, that real-life go-getter, helps Blue River Creek get better and better. As always, I have a good reader question for you, friends. And remember that to answer a good reader question, it's good to use evidence from the book, saying, I know that because the author wrote or the illustrator drew. And the good reader question is this today. Why did Sofia want to turn Mount Trashmore into a park? Why did Sofia want to turn Mount Trashmore into a park? Think about that. Now, if you're able, pause this video and talk to someone near you about why Sofia wanted to turn Mount Trashmore into a park. Great. Can't wait to hear your answers. My answer for why Sofia wanted to do that was because her grandpa had gotten hurt. I know the author and the illustrator showed us that her grandpa had gotten hurt, and we know how important he was to her. So she wanted to make sure that that unsafe place wasn't there anymore, so that wouldn't happen to anyone else that she cared about. In fact, instead, to turn it into somewhere, not just somewhere that's safe, but somewhere that's fun, like a park. Now, we talked today a bit about paying attention to Sofia's heart and brain, paying attention to her character traits, what makes her herself. And it's a good thing to do when you're reading a fiction story to be able to pay attention to that. So for today, the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is choose between these 2 words to describe Sofia's heart and brain. Now, would you say that Sofia was playful, or would you say that Sofia was hardworking? Which one makes more sense, and why? What did the author write or the illustrator show you that makes you make your choice? So a good answer will sound like, Sofia was playful because, or Sofia was hardworking because. You can answer that question with words, or write it down, or draw a picture that shows your thinking. And when you're done, send your work to your teacher. We can't wait to see what your good reading brains think. Hope you're having a great day. Bye.